Hey everybody, it's John from Seattle Coffee Gear. I'm here in the commercial kitchen today. We're going to do a crew review of the new RS1 from Rancilio. I have Andrew with me here today from Rancilio. He's a coffee specialist there, and he's going to be walking us through some of the features. We're going to make some drinks, taste some coffee, and just talk about this machine. So why don't we dive in? When did this machine come out?
So we first released the RS1 at Host in 2017.
Cool.
So that was prototype unveiling, and we first got prototypes in the States in 2018.
Okay.
And so throughout 2018, we did more testing. Then we had first really production run machines hitting towards the end of the year. So at SCA Expo 2018,
Okay.
we still had prototypes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
we first got real stock of this machine at the beginning of 2019.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so still pretty new,
Yep.
At least as coffee stuff goes. So this does come in a 3-group as well. This is the 2-group machine. We find that a 2-group is plenty enough for most cafes. A 3-group just doesn't give you a ton more volume unless you're super, super busy. But the 2-group is nice because it doesn't have the need for a 50 amp outlet, so you don't have to do too much extra power work past what a standard cafe would need. So 2-group is an awesome fit for most folks. And yeah, we're really excited about this machine. It has a lot of really good features, especially at the price point it's at compared to other machines. So just to start out, I guess the main feature of this machine that sets it apart in my mind would be the 2 different boilers at each group. So you can have independent temperatures at each group, but then also has the same technology from past machines from the Celsius line, where you can have a different start and end point for your espresso. So you can temperature profile.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so temperature profiling is something that we've done some testing on, and it's a great way to really polish an espresso, to really pull the exact notes that you want to out of the coffee. It's very similar to what we experience with an extraction with a pour over. We typically start with the hottest water in the kettle, and then towards the end of the extraction, we see that gradient in the kettle drops down. Same thing happens in the slurry of a pour over. So with the temperature profiling technology, we're kind of replicating some of those extractions just on a different scale here. But really, once we start looking at what this technology offers, we wanted to make tech that was replicable, that could be consistent, and that would be very easy to use. So while it does temperature profiling, that's a feature that you don't really have to dig into. If temperature profiling sounds like, oh, this is crazy. Right now we have both these groups set up to be the same temperature. We see a lot of cafes kind of using the machine like that. We're doing 2 different temperatures for 2 different coffees. So we see that a lot. So the temperature profiling is there. If you want to dive into that, you can really pull out some very unique notes from the coffee. That way you can really polish a coffee that way, find a really nice extraction for it. And then the volumetrics allow you to do the same thing every time.
Yeah. So
you don't have to worry about, okay, I have this very intricate way that I'm extracting the coffee. How do I do it the same thing every time? The technology allows you to do that. But if you just want to brew at one temperature, you just set the beginning and end temperature to be the same. And it's just like brewing one temperature on any other extraction method.
Yeah, and that's also what we were talking about before, is that it also utilizes that same technology to keep the temperature stable throughout the whole brew cycle. So it's keeping it at one temperature, but it's just kind of the next step in keeping it at the exact same temperature. You were saying that in your testing, the temperature variation is maybe 1/4 of a degree, even when you're pulling back-to-back shots. So that's huge for cafe consistency.
Yeah.
And the other part of that, obviously, is the volumetric part of this machine. And the flow meters have been upgraded as well. So the Class 7 that we also did a video on, that has what's called 2 magnet flow meters. This has 4 magnet flow meters, which is kind of common with some more higher end specialty machines, but it just allows for a more fine control of your volumetric settings. And we'll dive into how you can program those in a little bit here. But yeah, great consistency in our testing here with our staff and different coffees. So why don't we talk a little bit about the programming on this machine?
Yeah.
And talk about that. So
yeah. So we made all of the adjustable features for the steaming or for the hot water or for the groups front facing. So it's just a shortcut. You just press the button on the group or for the group, and then you can edit the impulses, that's how the flow meters measure the water moving through using the magnets in the flow meter. So 2 different settings here, and then you have a third here, and that's for the purge. So you can set this guy up to purge, and then it stops itself, or you can set it up to be continuous flow. Right now, if I hold the button down for more than a second, then it'll act like a manual espresso machine.
Yeah.
So a little bit of variability there.
Yeah, I love that feature because in a cafe, when you're done pulling a shot, you're taking the portafilter out, you can just hit that purge, walk over, and it's going to stop. But then you still have your 2 volumetric settings. So I think it's an awesome way to have it set up, and just in pulling shots here in the morning throughout the day, it's something I've really grown accustomed to.
Yeah, with the design of this machine, we worked with a few World Barista champions who gave us input, and really their input wasn't, oh, we need more bells and whistles, we need more features. It was really, we want to make a machine that is a workhorse that can really make a barista's job easier and better by having those features of the purge and the volumetrics, and then also with the steam side, being able to control the steam delivery across multiple settings.
Yeah, and that's another cool thing that I like about this machine. So if you see on your your dashboard here, you have your volumetrics settings up here for the groups, your heads-up display. You have your steam boiler pressure, and then you also have right here your 2 steam controls. So there's proportional valves inside the machine, and you can have 3 different controls for the steam. So I'm gonna up this here. This is also your purge, which is also another thing I like is the consistent design language. So purge matches this purge, setting 1 matches this setting, setting 2 matches that. So it's really easy for somebody to understand and adjust on the fly. But if I adjust that purge and I kick this back, that's only 25%. I can up that to 100% and get more power. Then I also have 2 different steps. I have a 70% right now or 100%. So the benefit of that is if I'm making a really small drink, like a traditional cappuccino or cortado, something where I have like a 12-ounce pitcher, not frothing very much milk, if I don't want to grenade my pitcher and launch milk everywhere, I can set that first stage as a lower setting to be able to have a little bit more control, which is especially helpful for baby baristas who are just starting out in a cafe. It makes it a lot easier for them to learn.
Yeah, and we've had success even going down as far as like 40% for just steaming like a couple ounces of milk and making a cortado with no milk waste. So it's a really great feature for reducing your waste. And it really allows you to take advantage of, like you were saying, being able to be versatile. Because the other alternative to having different steam pressure or pressure delivery on each side is to have a more constricted steam tip. But then you have to go to that side and maybe interrupt a barista who's trying to pull a shot. So this just gives you that control, on each side. And each of the settings can be different, so you can have different settings on this side versus that side.
Yeah, just super nice. And I don't know if you can tell, but these are thicker, so they are insulated. They still get a little bit warm, but you're not gonna burn yourself. So you won't have those barista battle scars quite as much. But
these are our Cool Touch. They're also on our Class 11.
Okay.
But yeah, if you run them for a long period of time, then the Teflon will heat up and you'll get some heat.
Yeah, definitely. And then last but not least on this dashboard, in the center here is your hot water settings, and this controls these 2 buttons here. So you have 2 different options. Each of these can have a different temperature and then also a different volume. So the way we have this set up right now is this first button is for just cold water. So I can put my finger under that, and then I am not gonna put my finger under this one, because this is set up to be pretty much the full temperature there.
Yeah, and I mean, we use that a lot for trade shows. It may make sense on your bar to have the cold water tap if you just want to rinse some things with cold water. But it's also variable. You could have 2 hot water So you have essentially 8 temperature settings there, from what you showed as the max to the minimum of just cold water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also another thing, well, it's in every menu setting pretty much, but you have this test function here, and if you turn that on, you're in test mode basically. But if it's off, anything I do now to the machine is going to be now remembered, and that's where my programming comes into play there. So if I set this for just a quick rinse, wow, I set that at the exact same time. It's going to remember whatever I set that at.
Yep.
That also comes into play when you're setting these volumetric settings. So if you see on the group here, it updates to self-learning because the test mode is not on. So it's in a volumetric programming setting at this point right now.
Right.
An easy way for me to think about this was anything that's highlighted, that's what I'm changing with these numbers over here. So if I want to change my pulses, that's the revolutions of that flow meter, counting the volume of water that's going through your shot. That's what this number is changing. And then this number is going to be the target time for that dial-in.
It's kind of an arbitrary value. It doesn't really change how the extraction is, but it's really for your reference. Just to dig into a little bit more of the software here, I just scrolled over and I can see the last 30 extractions. So if you have your preset time here, you can see your variance for the last 30 extractions. And so you can see maybe you get through the other side of a rush and you've been so busy interfacing with guests that you haven't really looked at the shot clocks here. You can go back and see like, oh, okay, I do need to tighten up the grind. I'm a little bit below or I'm a little bit above what my target time is. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's just another step towards consistency in my mind. Just as a former cafe manager, that's huge to have a reference point for your staff without being too big brother and really watching their every move.
Right,
So, yeah, huge. Well, why don't we take a break for a second, grab some coffee, grab some milk, and we'll prep some drinks here. All right, let's go ahead and taste some coffee. We have a little bit of a different setup than we normally do just because we have a unique machine here. We're doing some different temperatures. So the first coffee that we're gonna pull is gonna be the Snow Leopard blend, which is a little bit of a lighter roast. I'm not sure what the components are of that right now, but yeah, just a little bit lighter. So if you could talk us through kind of what you're doing with temperature on that, that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, typically for a blend, I may look to do a little bit lower temperature because you have a couple different coffees at play. By lower, I mean closer to around 200. If I have a lighter roasted single origin coffee, it's a good chance that it's a little bit denser or wants to see a higher temperature. But I generally start around 200 to 201. If I see any oil on the coffee, I may drop down a little bit lower, even if it's just a little bit.
Cool.
That kind of shows that it's been, it's seen some development and it doesn't want that high of temperature. Right here, I'm at 200.5 for this coffee, which I think brings out a little bit of brightness, which is really nice. It has a really nice citrus sweetness.
Definitely. And we have the two groups set at different temperatures right now. So the left one here is at 205, and then we'll get to the right one in just a second. And what's your input on this?
So for the dose, I'm doing about a 36 gram yield.
Okay.
And with this coffee, we're doing 18 grams in, 36 out, pretty simple 1-to-2 ratio.
Makes sense.
I think it suits the coffee well. And some of the tasting notes for the coffee are berries, marshmallow, and mango.
Yeah.
Definitely get some of the berry sweetness here.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Get this a stir real quick.
Definitely some like semi-sweet chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah, the citrus comes through, but it definitely has a little bit more like the sweet nose to it.
Yeah, it's nice and mellow, but it still has that nice sweet acidity. It's not completely muted of acidity, whereas I feel like this, the Tony's Ganache Espresso, I feel like it's a little bit more developed to kind of round off some of that acidity. So not everybody's a fan of acidity. So for this other coffee, I've the temperature dialed in at 199. A little bit lower because it has seen more development, so it doesn't need as much temperature to pull out the sweetness that we want.
Nice.
I think this turned out pretty well.
Yeah, I'd be happy if I was served that in a cafe. It's delicious. Cool. Well, let's reset, and then we'll try some of that Ganesha. All right, so we're going to make 2 drinks today. We're going to make a cappuccino to take a little bit of advantage of that smaller or the lower steam pressure, and then we're going to make a bigger drink in a latte here, so we can take advantage of the high steam pressure and do that. So here we go. Going to use a little bit more.
Yeah, sorry, I dropped it down to 40.
I don't know about you, but I like my cappuccinos a little cooler.
Mm-hmm. You're on like 120 or 130.
All right, there's our cappuccino.
It's a lot better than this is going to look.
Absolutely. The design of the steam tips on this machine I really like. It makes it super easy to get like a really nice fine texture from your milk. So been really enjoying that.
Yeah, they're pointed outward a little bit more. It's more often or more common for steam tips to be pointed down a little bit. Mm-hmm. So with these steam tips, you don't need to hit the side of the pitcher for as hard of an angle to get that vortex.
Yeah,
it comes
like
a little
that.
bit more naturally. It's gonna pour a little bit off. A flawless Rosetta. So.
All right, beautiful. But the texture is really nice on that, and even with it at a higher temperature, the milk itself, it still is very shiny, very glossy looking. So yeah, I like that a lot. I'm gonna dive into this cappuccino. I don't like as much milk in my drinks. Yeah, that's really good. The milk comes out super sweet, and that coffee just really complements the milk as well, kind of like that chocolate bar latte almost.
Yeah, especially in the latte, it's like a milk chocolate bar, like Hershey's chocolate. There's a lot of sweetness. Coffee goes well with it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, that has been the crew review and demo of the RS1 from Rancilio, here with Andrew from Rancilio. If you guys have questions about the machine or anything you wish we would have covered, leave us a note down below. We'd love to get back to you there. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you want to see more stuff from our channel. Check out the Rancilio channel as well. They're always posting cool stuff. Yep. And if you guys have questions about opening a coffee shop, coffee equipment, anything like that, myself or somebody on our team will be happy to help answer those questions for you. So from both of us here, thanks so much for watching. Yep. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks.